When I went to medical school, it was unusual to have somebody who was 50-year-old being diagnosed with colon cancer. And now we're actually seeing people in their 30s and even in their 20s. And even some teenagers have been reported being diagnosed with colon cancer. So what is going on? Who are the people at highest risk? Is it a toxin we're exposed to? Is it water? Is it microplastics? Is it something in our food? Is it something we're eating? Is it something we're not eating? Vaping is actually, in some ways, a lot nastier in terms of the chemicals that are involved than cigarettes and tobacco. And by the way, also lower the risk of developing certain forms of cancer, including colorectal cancer as well.
Have you ever wondered if the carbs you think are healthy could actually be feeding cancer cells? For adults over 65, the wrong cereal or snack can spike blood sugar, load you with hidden toxins, and even sneak in group 1 carcinogens, the kind proven to cause cancer in humans. That's why this video matters. You'll see 4 dangerous carbs seniors should never touch, and 4 must-eat carbs backed by science from Dr. William Li. Here's a quick win right now. Instant flavored oatmeal belongs on the danger list, while plain steel-cut oats with berries and nuts go on the must-eat list. That one swap alone steadies blood sugar and protects long-term health. In the next 30 minutes, you'll also discover which carbs to eat, which to avoid, the best ways to cook them, shopping cues seniors can trust, and simple kitchen hacks that cut arsenic and toxins by up to 70%. Plus, I'll give you a 3-minute pantry audit and a 1-day meal plan so you can put it into action immediately. Must-eat number 1, steel-cut oats, or thick-rolled, unsweetened.
I'm just telling you, oatmeal is actually good for you, but you want to actually get a good oatmeal. So let's talk about the different kinds of oatmeal that are out there. So you probably have seen steel-cut oatmeal, steel-cut oats, or oatmeal from steel-cut oats. And this is probably the best kind of oatmeal to have. You know why? Because it has the least amount of processing. As we know, when you actually have whole foods that are not very processed and definitely not ultra processed, that's the best form for your actually health. So what are actually steel-cut oats? Well, oats are from the plant. They're these little kernels. And to get steel-cut oats, what they do is they toast the oat kernels, and then they cut them into pieces with a steel blade. All right, chop, chop, chop. And then when you buy them, they're just ready to be soaking in water, like hot water, boiling water, and you can cook them. It takes in water maybe 30 to 40 minutes to actually cook them when you're stirring them. All right. But then they actually hydrate. In other words, they soak up the water and they're nice and soft, and you've got some nice oatmeal. This is something you can actually do, by the way, the night before with steel cut oats. Something easy to prepare for the next day. So then you just open up the fridge and heat some up. All right. So steel cut oats are probably the best. How about making oatmeal? I told you, if you can get steel cut oats, you could just prepare them the night before. So what I do is I boil some water on the stovetop. All right. I add steel cut oats. The directions are on the box or the package. Bring it to a boil. Here's a little pro tip. Add a pinch of salt, because a pinch of salt, not a lot, a pinch, actually that brings out the flavor of the oats. It makes it a little bit more sophisticated, a little tastier actually. And then lower the heat to a simmer, okay? And simmer it for 20, 30, 40 minutes. Like check it around 20, 30 minutes. Taste it. Got to stir it every now and then so it doesn't burn on the bottom. But that's why you want to simmer and then cook it. And basically once it's done, let's say it's in 30 minutes, okay? Take it off the heat, let it cool for about 10 minutes, and then you can actually put it into a bowl or a jar or a container, hopefully a glass container. Don't use plastic, okay? You don't want microplastics in your oatmeal. And then you can cool it overnight and chill it overnight, and the water will get absorbed, and the oatmeal will be pretty fluffy the next morning, all right? After you've cooked it, you've rested it, now you're storing it, the water will get even more absorbed. In the morning, you got ready pre-cooked oatmeal. Add a little bit of water to it, put it on the stove and heat it up, okay? Please don't heat it in a microwave. It's a carbohydrate, and the water's mostly been absorbed. You don't want to be creating chemical byproducts of heating carbs. So just add some water, put it on the stove, stir it up. Now you've made your own instant oatmeal, but you've actually done it from scratch the night before. It doesn't take a long time, and it really is great.
Steel-cut or thick-rolled oats deserve a daily spot on the plate because they deliver beta-glucan, a soluble fiber that forms a gentle gel in the gut, helping lower LDL cholesterol and smoothing post-meal glucose. Regulators in the US and EU allow health claims for oat or barley beta-glucan when adults consume around 3 grams per day, a clear signal that the evidence is strong enough to support heart health. Oats also show promise for immune support. Research published in Frontiers in Nutrition reviewed beta-glucans from cereals, including oats, and found that they help modulate gut microbiota composition and boost immune function in humans, which could help reduce low-grade inflammation and support overall resilience, especially meaningful for older adults. A practical amount is 1/2 cup dry steel-cut oats, which cooks to about 1 1/4 cups, delivering close to 3 grams of beta-glucan depending on the brand. Simmer for 20 to 25 minutes, flavor with cinnamon and vanilla, then add 1/4 cup blueberries and 1 tablespoon pumpkin seeds for antioxidants and healthy fats. Avoid instant oats with added sugar. Many of those are highly processed and lead to quick glucose spikes, exactly what older metabolism and cancer prevention efforts can't afford. Must-eat number 2, barley, hulled or whole grain.
Okay, next food we're going to talk about is barley. I love barley. It's a great food. And guess what? Barley also has beta-D-glucan, just like oats. And guess what it does? It lowers bad cholesterol. Again, the beta-D-glucan forms a gel in your gut. That gel binds up the cholesterol and the beta-glucan so that you don't absorb in your bloodstream. And the beta-glucan also helps to improve the health of your gut bacteria, your gut microbiome, which then lowers your lipids, good for heart health, all right? Lowers inflammation, good for heart health, and improves your metabolism, good for heart health. Bing, 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 check, check, check. This is a way to check all those boxes for heart health. And, in as much as oatmeal is super simple for breakfast, barley, amazing. You can actually make it into a stew, all right? It's so easy, and I love barley dishes. Now, what's the clinical evidence, though? That's actually really important. Well, a clinical study in Japan looked at 44 people. These were men who were heavy. They were obese. And they found that if they gave them a meal with rice and pearl barley every day for 12 weeks, okay, that's 3 months, they had a drop in their total cholesterol by 5%, okay, and their bad LDL cholesterol went down by 4%. Now, here's the thing. No statins added to this, all right? This is just naturally using that method I'm telling you, beta-glucan from barley in this case, but oats in the one that I gave you before, forming that gel, binding up the bad cholesterol and just shooting it out the poop chute, not in your bloodstream. And now you're lowering your bad cholesterol, which then means that you're lowering your risk of heart disease because you have less bad, sticky LDL cholesterol to clog up your arteries. Does that make sense? Okay. If you look up on Google, whole grain, you'll get with hulled barley, you'll get the brand and the germ of the barley. And it's got more nutrients because those parts all have their own nutrients and that's why whole grains are better than refined grains, where you remove all the outer layers, all right? But the key thing you need to know, if you get hulled barley, is that it does take a little longer time to cook, all right?
Barley is another beta-glucan powerhouse worth adding to your plate. Not only does it deliver soluble fiber that helps slow digestion and stabilize blood sugar, but recent randomized trials show that whole grain barley with high beta-glucan content significantly reduces post-meal glucose peaks compared to refined grains. According to a study in Nutrients, healthy adults given high beta-glucan whole grain barley saw lower postprandial glucose and smaller incremental blood sugar relative to white rice and lower beta-glucan barley forms. To use barley in your nutrition plan, aim for about 1/2 to 3/4 cup cooked barley at a meal, especially when paired with oats, so that your total daily beta-glucan target hits approximately 3 grams, oats plus barley combined. Cooking barley is simple. Use a 1:3 ratio of barley to water, simmer until chewy, and use it in place of white rice in soups, stews, or grain bowls. Barley also offers a gut health bonus. Clinical and animal work indicate that barley can shift the microbiome in favorable ways, boosting fiber-fermenting bacteria and improving glucose tolerance. While response varies based on gut bacteria at baseline, for many older adults these shifts translate into smoother energy levels, fewer sugar cravings, and better digestive comfort. For those aiming to protect both metabolic health and long-term resilience, making barley a regular whole grain staple is an easy swap with strong benefits. Must-eat number 3, quinoa.
Quinoa. Quinoa, a great source of protein. It also has the benefit of having all essential amino acids needed for health. Now, protein in your body is built from amino acids, and you can't make all the amino acids that you need in your body. There's 9 of them you need that are essential, meaning you need to get it from your diet. And quinoa is the solution. It's got the protein, it's got all 9 amino acids. 1 cup of quinoa has 8 grams of protein, and the quinoa is also a source of dietary fiber, good for gut health, lowering inflammation, all supports longevity.
Quinoa earns its place in the must-eat list for older adults because it delivers both fiber and complete protein, 2 essentials for muscle maintenance and metabolic balance after age 65. On top of that, there's growing lab-stage evidence that quinoa's phenolic compounds, like saponins, flavonoids, and phenolic acids, can slow the growth of certain cancer cell types in vitro. One such study in the Food Science and Nutrition demonstrates that extracts from quinoa inhibited growth of colon cancer cells, suggesting potential protective effects to use quinoa effectively. Go with 1/4 cup dry, about 3/4 cup cooked, as a serving. Rinse it well before cooking to remove natural saponins, which can taste bitter. Then simmer in 2 parts water for approximately 15 minutes after cooking, fluff and let sit for 5 minutes to finish steaming through. Meal ideas include a refreshing quinoa tabbouleh with parsley, lemon, tomato, and cucumber, or a hearty bowl mixing quinoa with black beans and roasted vegetables for an all-in-one fiber-rich plate. This matters because many older adults default to refined carbs that spike blood sugar without delivering the amino acids or fiber that stabilize energy. Adding quinoa swaps in both nutrition and texture, helping protect muscles, aid digestion, and provide compounds that may support cellular health over time. Must-eat number 4, buckwheat, groats, kasha. Soba that's 100% buckwheat.
We're still on sort of the Japanese theme. Buckwheat. Now, for people who don't know what buckwheat is, it is not made from wheat. It's a seed, so it's gluten-free. Buckwheat's used to make tea. It's used to make cereal. It's called groats. It makes powder flour for pancakes, but Japanese soba noodles are made with buckwheat. So what's in it? Dietary fiber. There's 2 bioactives. One's called rutin, one's called quercetin. Anti-inflammatory, good for your circulation, good for your metabolism. Easiest way to get the benefits from buckwheat is just to enjoy a bowl of soba noodles.
Buckwheat is a gluten-free pseudo-cereal with a strong nutrition profile especially well-suited for older adults. It's rich in fiber and minerals, and one of its standout compounds is rutin, a flavonoid investigated in lab and animal studies for its anti-inflammatory effects, and for modulating the NF-kappa B signaling pathway, a key driver of inflammation and many cancer-related processes. Human trials are still limited, but the nutritional case, fiber, minerals, and bioactives, is strong. According to a recent review in Plants, both in vivo and in vitro work suggest buckwheat has antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and gastrointestinal benefits, among other metabolic advantages. Magnesium is another benefit of buckwheat. Older diets often fall short in this mineral, and 1 cup of cooked buckwheat delivers about 86 milligrams of magnesium, supporting nerve, muscle, vascular, and sleep health. For use, aim for 1/2 cup cooked per meal. To cook kasha, toasted buckwheat, use a ratio of 1 part groats to 2 parts water. Simmer for about 10 minutes until tender. For soba, read labels carefully. Many are mixed with wheat. Choose ones made from 100% buckwheat if gluten-free is required. Buckwheat's value goes beyond nutrients alone. The fiber supports gut health and stable blood sugar, and the mineral content helps offset common dietary deficits. For older adults who need strong foundations for metabolic resilience and inflammation control, buckwheat is a smart grain, or seed, choice that combines ease of cooking with meaningful protective food chemistry. So now that we've covered the best carbs to add to your plate, it's time to flip the coin, and look at the carbs that can quietly sabotage your health. Danger number 1. Flavored instant oatmeal and sugary breakfast cereals.
You've got instant oatmeal, and this is what I told you I grew up with, all right? These are super ultra processed. I would never feed it to a family today. It's the least desirable if you actually have a choice of rolled oats or steel cut oats. And the reason is that's ultra processed. And these oats are convenient. I got to tell you, this oatmeal is very convenient. They come in packages, and they're labeled in boxes, and they've got, cinnamon, they've got maple flavor, they come with apple pieces. Because they're often packaged in plastic, watch out. this ultra processed food packaging can actually contain microplastics that get shed in there. So this is another reason I'm giving you the caution that the ultra processed version of oatmeals are not the most desirable one. Now, these instant oats are pre-cooked, all right? They're rolled flat, they're cut into small flakes, all right? They're super fast to prepare because they're basically cooked and they're tiny, so they actually cook quickly. And they actually then are pre-portioned out into servings, and then additives are put into the package, all right? They might add sugar. They might add artificial flavoring. They might add preservatives. They might add artificial coloring. That's definitely not for the healthiest form of oatmeal. And sometimes they've got little bits of fruit that might be in there, like dried apples. And again, that's dried apples is ultra processed from someone else, some other company that put them in, and they're mixing them all together. And if you look at the side of the package, you'll see all those ingredients that are in there. So definitely check the ingredients and make sure that you're comfortable with everything that you're actually eating. Now, instant oatmeal cooks super fast, like, just a couple of minutes, boom, you're done. They're kind of mushy because they're already pre-cooked and pretty massaged. And so that's not really the ideal way, but they're super convenient. And that's really what led us down this path of eating a lot of ultra convenient food, cheap and fast. But now we know cheap and fast may not be the best way to actually have your breakfast. You'd rather, like every other meal, have a little bit of the less processed food, have the whole food. That version is best.
Many flavored instant oatmeals and boxed cereals marketed as healthy starts can actually sabotage energy and long-term health. A single packet of popular flavored instant oatmeal often contains 12 to 13 grams of added sugar, which is nearly 3 teaspoons. Because these oats are pre-cooked and finely milled, they digest extremely quickly. Studies report a glycemic index of approximately 79 to 82, nearly identical to white bread, which means they spike blood glucose and insulin sharply. Repeated glucose surges increase fatigue, cravings, and insulin stress, exactly the conditions older adults and cancer survivors need to avoid. The risk is not just about energy dips. Over time, these repeated spikes contribute to weight gain, inflammation, and disrupted metabolic signaling, creating a terrain more favorable to disease progression. For someone already navigating cancer or trying to prevent recurrence, choosing high GI, sugary cereals each morning adds unnecessary risk. A safer approach is to use plain steel-cut or thick rolled oats. These digest more slowly, helping keep blood sugar steady. Flavor them naturally with a handful of berries or half a chopped date, which add antioxidants without excess sugar. Cinnamon provides extra flavor and may support blood sugar control. For crunch and healthy fats, sprinkle pumpkin seeds or walnuts on top, no added sugar required. This combination turns oats into a steady energy breakfast that protects rather than undermines metabolic health. Danger number 2. High arsenic rice habits, especially daily white rice with standard absorption cooking.
Trees tend to grow in tropical areas, especially volcanic areas. And what happens in these tropical volcanic areas is that there's a lot of activity, geological activity, and deep inside the earth are heavy metals. All right, we're surrounded by heavy metals, arsenic, lead, cadmium, scary sounding, right? Okay, you don't want them from a factory spewing it out into the air around your house. But I can tell you that present in the earth are natural amounts of these cadmium and lead and arsenic. I bet if you check many plant-based foods that grow in those areas, you'll also see heavy metals present.
Rice naturally pulls arsenic from soil and water, and long-term exposure to inorganic arsenic, the most toxic form, is a known human carcinogen. Levels vary by type and origin. Basmati from some regions and certain jasmine rices often test lower, while standard absorption cooking leaves most arsenic in the pot on your plate. A simple, safer routine is to pick lower arsenic rice when possible and switch to a high water method. Parboil for 5 minutes, drain, add fresh water, then cook to absorb, or cook, pasta style, in plenty of water and drain. According to a study in Food Additives and Contaminants, excess water cooking reduced inorganic arsenic by roughly 40 to 60% across white, parboiled, and brown rices compared with standard methods, while simple rinsing did little. If you still enjoy rice, rotate lower arsenic varieties, use these water-heavy techniques, and consider cooling and reheating leftovers to increase resistant starch for a gentler blood glucose response. Danger number 3, moldy grains and mycotoxins, hidden in corn and wheat products. Not all carb dangers come from sugar or starch. Some hide in the microscopic world of fungi. Corn and wheat, especially when stored in warm, humid conditions, are prone to contamination by molds that produce mycotoxins, including aflatoxin, one of the most powerful natural carcinogens known. The World Health Organization classifies aflatoxin exposure as a leading food-based risk factor for liver cancer worldwide. The risk rises in processed products where large batches of grain are milled together, think corn chips, mass-produced tortillas, and conventional wheat flours, because contamination from just part of the harvest can spread across the supply. Chronic, low-level intake over years may contribute to liver damage, immune suppression, and higher cancer risk. To protect yourself, avoid stale-smelling grains, limit ultra-processed corn and wheat snacks, and store whole grains in airtight containers in a cool, dry pantry. When possible, choose suppliers that test for mycotoxins or diversify your carb intake with alternatives like oats, barley, or buckwheat that are less prone to contamination. Danger number 4. Ultra-processed breakfast pastries, toaster pastries, frosted bars, donuts.
Are ultra-processed foods, UPFs. Now, UPFs, ultra-processed foods, are being talked about a lot. One of the things that is conclusive, really, from all the research that's been done, medical research has been done, is that eating a lot of ultra-processed foods is harmful to your health. And it actually is correlated with lower longevity, okay? Less longevity. Now, it's really hard to avoid ultra-processed foods. You know, it's one of the things that most of us grew up with. And by the way, ultra-processed foods were kind of invented as one of the big advances in the 1950s by the food industry. They made food tasty, cheap, and convenient. Like, what's better than that, right? But ultra-processed food is basically using factories to machine and package foods that food chemists engineer to be tasty and taste really, really great. And adding synthetic materials to it, like preservatives that would help the products last longer on the shelf, or both in the grocery store and also at home, right? That was considered an incredible innovation at one point. And then, of course, there's flavorings that get put in there. A lot of the flavorings are artificial flavorings. You see this a lot in ultra-processed foods. You know, it's really hard to know what those artificial flavorings are, or artificial colors, right? These dyes that actually make their way into food. So flavorings, coloring, and preservatives, these are all additives that are put in there. Stabilizers, anti-caking, all kinds of emulsifiers, thickeners, all kinds of things that are added by the companies that are making these manufactured foods. This was considered a big innovation, but those are all ultra-processed foods. It turns out that ultra-processed foods are associated with the development of chronic diseases. They actually increase your risk of developing chronic diseases that can shorten your life. That's actually why you want to avoid ultra-processed foods. So what are some of the conditions that ultra-processed foods are linked to? Well, UPFs actually increase our risk for cardiovascular disease, for multiple types of cancer, for type 2 diabetes, and all the consequences of diabetes, metabolic problems, vision problems, kidney problems, vascular problems, blood vessel problems. Ultra-processed foods are associated with a higher risk of obesity and a higher risk of dementia as well.
These soft, white, sugary carbs combine refined flour with added sugars and industrial processing, creating fast glucose spikes and a steady drip of additives and heat-formed byproducts that don't help an older body. Habitual intake of ultra-processed foods, including sweet packaged pastries, is associated with higher overall cancer risk in prospective data. According to a large study in BMJ, each 10% increase in ultra-processed foods in the diet tracked with a significant rise in total cancer incidence. For seniors, the combo of high glycemic load and low fiber drives fatigue, cravings, and weight gain, while the lack of protective plant compounds makes these calories empty from a cancer-smart standpoint. Swapping pastries for a fiber-rich breakfast, like thick rolled oats topped with berries and nuts or a whole grain toast with hummus, steadies blood sugar and replaces ultra-processed flour with nutrients that support long-term metabolic and digestive health. But choosing the right carbs is only half the story. How you prepare and store them can be just as important. Small kitchen habits can mean the difference between risk and protection. Rice is a good example. Many older adults worry about arsenic in rice, and for good reason. Inorganic arsenic is classified as a Group 1 carcinogen. The fix is simple: use the PBA, or parboil and absorb method. Parboil the rice for 5 minutes, drain the water, then add fresh water and finish cooking until it's absorbed. Research shows this method can remove as much as 54 to 74% of the inorganic arsenic, depending on the variety of rice. It's a powerful kitchen step that lowers exposure right at home. Sugar spikes are another hidden trap. The size of the grain and the way it's cooked matter more than most people realize. Smaller particles digest faster, which is why instant oats spike glucose more than steel cut. The structure of the grain makes a difference too. Beta-glucan in oats and barley adds viscosity in the gut, slowing digestion and keeping blood sugar steadier. Cooling and reheating is another proven trick. If you cook rice, chill it, and reheat it later, more resistant starch forms. Studies confirm this lowers the glucose rise compared with eating rice freshly cooked. For older adults facing insulin resistance, that one habit can turn a risky side into a safer one. Corn products carry their own concern: aflatoxins, toxic compounds produced by molds in warm or humid storage. To reduce the risk, buy dry, intact packages, store them in a cool and dry place, and rotate stock regularly. Traditional nixtamalization, the alkaline processing used for masa and tortillas, can reduce aflatoxins as well, offering another safety edge. These hacks, arsenic control, glycemic protection, and aflatoxin prevention, take just seconds but can make every pantry safer. A 3-minute pantry audit helps lock these choices in. The first minute is about sorting: put the safest foods where the hand goes first. Daily choices like steel-cut oats, hulled barley, quinoa, and buckwheat should sit on the top shelf. Weekly foods like lower arsenic basmati or jasmine rice and sprouted grain bread belong in the middle. Rare choices, instant oat packets, corn chips, and white flour crackers, drop to the bottom, where they are less tempting. The second minute is for labeling. Use painter's tape to mark jars with serving sizes: half a cup dry oats, 3/4 of a cup cooked quinoa, half a cup cooked barley. This makes daily dosing automatic. The third minute is a storage check. Grains should be kept cool and sealed tightly. Buckwheat and quinoa keep longer if stored in the fridge or freezer. Corn products, in particular, should never sit in humidity, and any musty or damaged package should be thrown out right away. To see how it comes together in real life, here's a one-day sample plan designed with seniors in mind. Breakfast starts with half a cup of dry steel-cut oats cooked and topped with blueberries, pumpkin seeds, cinnamon, and vanilla. This delivers beta-glucan for cholesterol and glucose control, and berries bring in protective polyphenols. Mid-morning can be as simple as a cup of green tea with a small apple and a spoonful of peanut butter. Lunch is a quinoa lentil bowl: 3/4 of a cup cooked quinoa mixed with lentils, cherry tomatoes, and arugula, finished with an olive lemon dressing. This plate balances fiber, protein, and color for steady glucose and antioxidant support. For a snack, enjoy buckwheat crackers with hummus or a handful of air-popped sorghum. Dinner features salmon and vegetable stew thickened with half a cup of cooked barley instead of cream, served with a side of greens. Barley brings beta-glucan. The fish contributes omega-3s for anti-inflammatory support. Dessert can be a baked pear topped with toasted buckwheat groats for crunch. Each meal is balanced, protective, and easy to prepare. Finally, for eating out, a quick restaurant decoder can keep the plan on track. At breakfast diners, plain steel-cut oatmeal is the safest pick. Skip added sugar and add berries or nuts if offered.
Then toppings, all right? I love adding healthy things to my healthy oatmeal. So here's some suggestions: berries, strawberries, blueberries. Strawberries have ellagic acid, anti-inflammatory, good for your metabolism. Blueberries have anthocyanins, anti-inflammatory, good for your metabolism. They both cut off the blood supply, feeding cancers. What's not to like about that? They're also good for our stem cells to help us heal. And you can actually add some crushed nuts if you want to use this as an opportunity to add some tree nuts to your oatmeal: pistachios, walnuts, hazelnuts. Those are all great things to add to oatmeal. And you can add some cut fruit. Now, what I do is I sort of think about cut fruits like kiwi or mango or peaches. Whatever is actually seasonal, you can actually add that on top of the oatmeal. If you want it a little sweet, okay, I do not put added cane sugar. Don't put stevia. Don't put these artificial sweeteners. Fruit actually is a great way of sweetening it. And if you want to sweeten just a little bit more, add just a touch of maple syrup. All right, like grade A amber maple syrup, just a little bit. Stir it in there. You'll get a little bit of that sweet hit, and it'll actually work really nicely with the oatmeal. And that's the way to actually have oatmeal. So, oatmeal, check, good for you, but you want to choose carefully and prepare the right way for health.
At Asian restaurants, rice portions can be downsized. Jasmine or basmati are safer bets, and pairing them with vegetables and protein is wise. At Italian spots, whole-grain pasta cooked al dente is better than overcooked white pasta. Aim for a cup cooked and balance the plate with vegetable sides. In fast casual restaurants, look for bowls built on quinoa or barley, load up on beans and greens, and avoid sauces heavy with sugar. These swaps are simple, but they give control back to older adults and caregivers in real-world settings. People often wonder if brown rice is always better than white. The truth is, not necessarily. When it comes to arsenic, what matters most is the type of rice and where it's grown. For example, basmati from certain regions like Pakistan tends to test lower, while cooking methods such as the parboil and absorb or excess water method can dramatically cut arsenic levels regardless of color. For fiber, though, many whole grain carbs like oats, barley, or buckwheat often beat rice hands down. Another common question is whether popcorn can be dangerous. Properly stored popcorn kernels are generally low risk for aflatoxin contamination compared with other corn products. The key is to buy fresh, dry, intact packages and keep them stored in a cool, dry place. If the kernels look musty or damaged, it's safest to discard them. People also ask if oats really help the immune system. Evidence does exist for the immune effects of beta-glucans, though results vary by source and dose. The strongest clinical backing for oat beta-glucan is still for lowering cholesterol and improving blood sugar control. The immune impact is being actively studied, and it's promising, but the best proven benefits today are cardiovascular and metabolic. Finally, how does this all connect to Dr. William Li's work? His research focuses on the body's 5 main defense systems: angiogenesis, immunity, the microbiome, DNA protection, and regeneration. The must-eat carbs in this plan, oats, barley, quinoa, buckwheat, support those defenses. The swaps remove foods that add toxic stress or sugar spikes. It's the essence of the eat to beat disease approach, making food choices that give the body its best chance to defend itself every day. Rita is 70 and used to start her mornings with sugary instant oats. She swapped them for steel-cut oats topped with fresh berries. Within just 3 weeks, her glucose readings after breakfast went from spiky highs to steady lines, and she noticed she wasn't napping as much in the afternoons. Andre, 68, learned the parboil boil absorb method for rice and began using it 3 nights a week. He also rotated in barley as a dinner side. That simple change helped curb his late-night cravings, and he reported sleeping more soundly. Maya, 73, decided to stop buying corn chips. She roasted chickpeas instead and started storing her cornmeal in airtight jars in a cool pantry. The musty smell disappeared, and she found that smaller, protein-rich snacks were easier to control. These stories are examples. Everyone's results will vary, but they show how quickly small choices can ripple into better energy, digestion, and comfort. Every bite is a choice, and after 65, choosing the right carbs can steady blood sugar, reduce toxin exposure, and strengthen the body's defenses. That's what Dr. Li's research on health defense systems is all about. Start small. Swap steel-cut oats for instant packets tomorrow. Make a barley stew for dinner next week. Aim for 2 must-eat carbs each day and build from there. Small steps become strong protection. Save this video, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs it. Comment below with the first swap you'll try: steel-cut oats, barley, quinoa, or buckwheat.